I can't literally say who are the companies that are looking to go, but trust me, they are.
Daniel Norkin is the founder and CEO of Envision Blockchain. With a focus on Web3, Envision Blockchain builds applications for decentralized and distributed networks. Welcome, Daniel.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So, Daniel, can you give us a deeper dive into what Envision Blockchain is and what your goals are?
Yeah, sure. So, I like to tell this story. We opened up in the early part of 2018, and we are a blockchain system integrator. Fancy word for just saying that we are a custom applications development organization. So we help companies build IP. We build solutions for other companies. We don't necessarily, build solutions for ourselves. That kind of came about when we opened up in 2018, where we didn't want to build the next Ethereum or the next Hedera, right? There was already a lot of brilliant minds that are working on that. We like to call it kind of the ICO boom and bust, because at the time there was a lot of great SaaS applications and protocols that were hitting the market. But what was needed was for companies to be able to know how can they actually adopt these technologies for their businesses, and how can they have a development team help them, that understands the Web3 space and all the different components in that, to really help them create their vertical solution. So that brings us to what we do today.
I got you. Yeah, everybody wants to have their own coin, but there's so much more that needs to be built and done, right?
And it's not even their own coin. It's more about, leveraging existing protocols, not necessarily creating a coin, right? For example, in Hedera, you don't necessarily need to create your own coin. You could still use HBAR to run whatever transactions that you need. It's more about, what does that technology actually allow you to do?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So we were brought together through the HBAR Foundation. Did you seek out the HBAR Foundation, or did they come to you?
So we have a really interesting long history. We knew Hedera long before they were a public chain. We knew Hedera long before they were, split off into the HBAR Foundation. Actually, one of our first consensus conferences that we went to, I forget, it was like Consensus 2018 or 2019 or something like that, back when the world was going to conferences. We made it a point to go and visit the Hedera booth, because we really liked what they were doing at the private blockchain level. That's what they were. They were an enterprise organization that was focused around private blockchains and the interoperability. So they had connectors to Ethereum and some of the other public chains. And then later on, they had then, released their own coin, went public, got the validator set and whatnot. So we really connected in 2020, I want to say, when the other co-founder, his name is Jason Panzis, had worked on the carbon emissions token together with Marley Gray at Microsoft in the token taxonomy initiative, and had spoke at Consensus 2020 together with Mance on the carbon emissions token. And then one thing led to the other, and then we started working on the on the Guardian solution that is being used throughout the Hedera ecosystem right now. And then the Hedera Foundation, or sorry, the HBAR Foundation then kind of split away from Hedera to really help out with the sustainability front, which is, a pretty recent thing that happened.
It's a pretty long trip there, but it sounds like it's been productive.
Yeah, very much so.
Good. So we've heard a lot about the Guardian from both the HBAR Foundation and Dovu. You guys are the creators of the Guardian. You just came out with a new version today. Can you tell us about this new version and your vision for how the Guardian is going to be used?
Yeah, sure. So, some of the main things that we wanted to aim for when we first released the Guardian back, the first release, which was version 1.0 beta 1. It was in the commit date there in GitHub is October 14th, 2021. It was it was something that companies can start to grip onto to really understand what it's like to create an ESG asset based on a policy, right? So the big problem statement in the ecological market industry kind of follows a similar story like this, where carbon credits, carbon offsets, this is nothing new. It's been going around for, over 10 years, over 15 years. People have been paying money for these offsets. Now that more companies are making pledges that they want to be carbon neutral, it's getting to be a big deal. The world kind of came to realize, well, the current way that these offsets are, they're kind of paper based. So, there's a certificate, there's a PDF, so to say, that says, well, here's the amount of carbon that if you purchase, that you're going to be able to offset. But what happens when somebody wants to audit that? How can you actually trace that back to the origin? So that's what we really aimed for when we initially launched. So now in the current version, we've been through many different iterations. Now today we're launching the Guardian 2.0. So we've been through a number of different releases since then, where immutability, discoverability, decentralization is kind of some of the major topics that we're talking about here, some of the major themes where, for example, one of the big questions that we get asked is, well, how can you actually see this token provenance, which is really, the it's kind of the meat and potatoes about creating ESG assets. So
Sure.
with using IPFS, with using Hedera topics, this is how we're able to really show everything to anyone that really wants to dig in. And version 2.0 really does a great job of taking what we would consider an early concept to something that is actually ready to be used, and just needs to kind of keep on iterating, keep on getting more community voice, which is really helpful. That companies like Dovu, like you mentioned earlier, are so active with the Guardian community, and there's many others as well that are kind of helping give voice as to what's needed.
Yeah, I gotcha. And can people actually go check that on the explorers as well, like Dragonglass and Kabuto?
Exactly. So right now the way that it's baked in is everything there is on Dragon. Well, it's on all of them. In our demos, we are using Dragonglass. And what's interesting is right now the way that is baked in the reference implementation that we have, a couple demos, everything is minting on testnet. The way that it's easily discoverable, which is what we like to say, is we came out with Hedera Improvement Proposal 19, so HIP 19, which said basically to keep it simple is that with every mint transaction, you can write an identifier in the memo field. So with every token that's minted, you can take a look at that. You can take a look at that memo field, and that's the beginning of taking a look at the token provenance. So any token that's minted, you can really see what's happening there.
I gotcha. So are there any other ways you're planning on leveraging Hedera?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been a lot of talk within the Hedera ecosystem. I mean, NFTs are really hot right now. Creating different marketplaces for sure. Some of the things that we're talking to, some of our customers that are looking at leveraging Hedera. But I want to say, I mean, within the Hedera ecosystem, sustainability is like the number one thing that folks are talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's so efficient. It just makes sense, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So on the Hedera Governing Council, we have EDF Energy, one of the largest energy companies in the world, and it's a key force behind the UK push towards zero carbon electricity. Could you see them using the Guardian?
I'm not too sure what they're doing. Just, I'm going to be honest. We have not directly spoke to EDF about what their plans are. But if they're an energy company, then I'm just going to kind of think outside the box. Most energy companies are probably going to be looking into some sort of like I don't know, like a renewable energy credit or something like that. If you take a look at some of the work that we've done within the Guardian, one of the demos, actually the first demo that we ever came out with how to use the Guardian is something that's used. It's a policy that's used by the International Renewable Energy Credit. organization, or IREC for short. So that was one of the reasons when we came out with the Guardian, we included like an IoT simulator, essentially, so that it's taking data from an IoT simulator, sending it over to Hedera topics and whatnot, and creating then renewable energy credits based on actual data which is coming in from an IoT simulator. Actually, with the Guardian 2.0 release, we've improved that IREC policy since then to kind of make it more end-to-end, and also have provided more step-by-step tutorials on how you can actually do that. So, I mean, all energy companies should probably be taking a look into that.
So one of the things that I get curious about is you do a lot of your testing, it sounds like, on testnet, which makes sense. Have you done a lot of testing on the mainnet as well to make sure that it would go off without a hitch?
So, just in all transparency, haven't gone to mainnet just yet. There's still a lot of testing which is set to be done. And this is part of the open source project, is that we're specifically building the open source repo for others to take it and do other things with that. So
Sure.
if we were to do all the crazy tests that we're doing on mainnet, it would be one thing, but we're looking at breaking testnet right now.
Well, we'd love to see you do it on mainnet. I'm sure the community would get really excited.
I'm sure. I don't know if anybody would want to see us break mainnet, but I don't think that's possible.
No, well, hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. So, as tokenization chair of the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, do you believe there's room for collaboration between Ethereum and Hedera?
Yeah, this is a topic that I think a lot of people are talking about, not just between Ethereum and Hedera, but just in general. Is interoperability an important thing? So I'll tell you that there is another group within the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance that's currently working at like cross-chain interoperability. Tokenization, we're not necessarily in that tokenization group, we're not necessarily focused on interoperability, but generally speaking, outside of that, I think interoperability is an important thing, because as much as we all want to say that we love one network over another network, us as a custom application organization have seen that there's just companies that are building all over the place, and I think interoperability is an important thing. Personally, I think that there's some challenges, like bridges, as you could see, that are important between layer ones and layer twos. You can think of concepts of bridges between different layer ones as well. And this is still kind of, we're all early. So it's like, if you're listening to this, then you're involved in the blockchain space, whether from a speculation side or from the building side, you're early too. Don't let anyone tell you that you're late on anything. I mean, it's like the internet's been around for how long, and they've built so many protocols, right? And they found a way to make every protocol kind of talk to each other, right? We don't have just one cable provider, there's
Sure.
big businesses on it. So I think that there is a place for many chains to exist for many different purposes. It really seems from where I'm sitting that Hedera is making a really strong position in the sustainability space. So it's like, if you're going to use Hedera for sustainability use cases, I completely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. So I see you're working with Microsoft and Intel and Boeing, HEB, and many others. Are any of these companies showing interest in what you're building with Hedera?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So, some of those companies that you mentioned, we worked in the past, some of them that we are continuing to work with, and then there's others that we're working with that you haven't mentioned as well. It's like, the answer is yes. The answer is yes, that they have expressed interest into Hedera. It's just really, it's really a matter of just putting in the work and getting it done together, right? Because a lot of these companies have been putting together proof of concepts, And we're going to see a lot of proof of concepts for some time, but I think everyone is dying for mainnet production use cases. And that's gonna take some time, which is why I'm saying it's like everyone needs to be patient
Sure.
because there's a lot of work which is happening behind the scenes. I can't literally say who are the companies that are looking to go, but trust me, they are. We're not building the Guardian just to build it. I'll tell you something interesting. I heard, and I'm just gonna see if I can pull this up really quickly. So, what I heard, let's see if I can find this really quickly. Um, so what I heard is that Guardian repo is the most popular and the most cloned. Here it is. I think I'm getting to it close soon. Yeah. So the Guardian repo is the most visited and the most cloned project that Hedera has within their GitHub repo right now. So just to give you an idea, Wes Geisenberger just
Mhm.
tweeted out here. He said that this week we've had 1,688 page views in GitHub, 180 unique visitors, and 43 unique clones. So I'm telling you that there's a lot of companies that we're talking to that are looking at using the Guardian. And there's a lot of them that we haven't talked to yet, which is great because that just means that it's getting adopted pretty well. And there's a lot of companies that are looking at pushing out to mainnet sooner than we think.
Oh, well, I can't wait. That's for sure. Daniel, this has been great. Do you have anything else you'd like to pass on before we let you go?
No, I'm really excited for the Guardian 2.0 to be out there. I would really love for people to be able to clone it and be another one of the people that are cloning it, break it, find bugs, tell us so that we can go ahead and fix it. Give us your suggestions on what you think it should do. We really think that this is the best solution when it comes to the ecological markets. Happy to partner with Hedera for this. So, thanks so much for having me.